Hey guys, we got our engine with the heads on it. If you want to see how we did it, watch this. Hey everybody, we're back for another one. I'm Ray. We're going to go ahead and put our heads on our small block today. And we already got one side on, so I'm not going to bore you with putting both sides on. But when we get this side done, you'll see what it'll look like with both heads installed that way. So let's dive into it and get onto it. This is our head gasket. We're going to go ahead and set it on the block here and start assembling. We got the dowel pins here. Get that set up around those. Just kind of push that down tight with our gasket. There we go. Okay, everything looks good with that. We're going to go ahead and get our head pinned by meaning on these dowels right here. Okay, I'm just going to hold it there while I get a couple of these little bolts just started. I'll be pulling these back out and putting the sealant on them, but I'm just going to start those right now so we don't have our head fall off. There we go. Alright. Get some thread sealant on these bolts and start putting them in place. If you hear some background noise, it sounds like a dog chewing on a piece of wood or cardboard. That's again because we have a dog chewing on either a piece of wood or cardboard. We have Brandy in the shop with us again today, and being a puppy, he sure likes chewing on chunks of wood, so we let him chew on them. Better that than chewing on us or on the shoes or whichever he decides to chew on. He's been pretty good about chewing on shoes. He hasn't been doing that, so. But he sure likes chewing on pieces of wood and whatever else he can grab onto. Pop bottles seems to be his favorite. We took the pop bottles away from him just a little bit ago because it made such a racket. We didn't want that noise in the background if we could help it. We have chased our bolt holes in the block. We cleaned the threads out before we started assembling anything pretty much. That was one of the first things that we did, was chased all of our all of our threads in the block. I cleaned up the threads on the bolts so they're in good shape. They were lightly oiled when I cleaned them up, and then I just kind of briefly wiped the oil off so we didn't have an excessive amount of oil on them. The thread sealant I'm using is both a lubricant and a sealer. So as we torque the heads down, the bolts will be, or the threads will be lubricated, but it's also a sealant, so it'll seal them because they go right into the water jackets. So you should get a decent amount of sealer on them. Okay, there's all the uppers. Pull this one back out. You want me to turn the motor a little bit, Teresa? No, that's alright. Teresa's doing our camera again today for us. She does a great job, a lot better than I do. I pretty much put it on the stand and leave it go. Unfortunately, you guys don't see as much detail as you do when she's on the camera, but she's got some free time, so I asked her to wander out and help us with this, and she agreed, so she's doing our camera today. And again, this is just a little small block. We're not asking a lot of performance out of this motor, so we're using the stock bolts. If we were doing a high horsepower build, we'd be using probably ARP or another aftermarket high performance, either a stud kit or bolts, probably a stud kit. But this is just a small motor. We're not asking for tons of horsepower with this motor. We're just asking for longevity, just more of a street cruiser type of motor. So, all right. Now that we got the bolts in, get that out of the way, I'm just gonna real quickly just snug them down a little bit, and then we'll start torquing. Go around this real quick. And I'm going to go around it in the same manner as that we're going to torque them. So. Okay, It looks like it's sitting good there and there. Across the bottom. Alright. Now, our overall torque is going to be 65 pounds. I'm going to do that in 3 different stages. I'm going to start out with 30 pounds, which is where I have it set right now. So you can hear it clicking. And there is a torque sequence on this. Basically what you're doing is you're starting in the center right here, and then going up here, and then down here, and then here, and then up, and then here, and then here. And basically what you're doing, you're starting in the center and you're working your way out. I was talking and not paying attention where I was going. There we go. Now we're back on track. There we go. Okay, there's the first round. Now I'm going to unlock this and then go up to about 50. Let's see, where's my 50 mark? There it is. There we go. Okay, now we'll take it up to 65. There we go. Brandy's crying in the corner over there. What's the matter, buddy? Oh, now I just bumped the tripod. Sorry about that, guys. Brandy's looking for some attention. He's chewing on tree stumps. Okay, I'm gonna go over this one more time. Just Brandy, hey buddy, that's me. So we can make sure that we're where we gotta be. This one. Okay, there's our heads, and we'll go over those again after we get it warmed up, get our timing set and all that. We'll definitely be checking those one more time before we run it hard. Make sure that our heads are still there, ready to go. Okay, so what we're hey, Brady. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get some lubricant on the bottoms of our lifters. This is the moly that we put on our cam. We're going to coat the bottom of our lifters with it. Maybe I am. There we go. Coat the bottom of our lifter. Now the lifters has been sitting in a jug of oil, so they are I'm not going to say they're pumped up, but they have been sitting in oil to the point where there's lubrication inside of them. Sorry about that, guys. The battery went dead, and it actually went dead at a pretty good time because Brandy was starting to get a little rambunctious, and he was starting to bark, and he didn't want to be out here any longer. So we put him in the house, and we'll continue on out here in the shop. So apologize for that, but I guess things happen. So we'll finish with our lifters here. This stuff is messy. Good stuff, but it's awful messy to work with. Alright, there's the last one. There we go. Set that off to the side. Kind of wipe the gunk off my fingers. Next, what we'll do is we'll put our push rods in. Now on the push rods, I'm going to use the assembly loop on those. So grab a couple of those. Yeah, there we go. We got assembly loop going on here. go. There's our push rods. I'm going to take our rocker arms and I'm going to put some assembly lube in the little cups here and then set them on top of our push rods. So reason I'm going with roller rocker arms on this is just for dependability. We could have just as easily cleaned up the stock ones and put them on, but we don't want to see it break down on us or prematurely have a failure. So we're going to go ahead and throw a little bit better parts in it than it came with from the factory. We're going to go ahead and put our balls in, our roller. There we go. Loop these up. These are the pivot balls. There we go. Uh-oh. I dropped that one. Fat fingers. There we go. Okay, there's those. Now what I'm going to do is put the nuts on. Now these are a special nut made for roller rockers. As you can see, they're real long, and there's a lock that goes in them too. What I'm doing is I'm just kind of spinning the push rod a little bit, just kind of snugging it down. I'm not going to get real crazy with it now because we got to rotate the motor and lash everything together. So, but what I don't want to do is I want to get it where they're bound. I just want to make sure I can spin the push rod until the time comes where we start to actually tighten it down. Then what I'm going to do is just take these little keepers, I'm going to just basically get them started like that. So there's still adjustment, we can still move the nut without having to worry about that hitting the top of the stud. So we're going to go ahead and put a couple more on. As you can see, the rocker arms will sit up straight like they're supposed to. There. Yeah, see, there's virtually no wiggle into them side by side. I'm not using guide plates or anything on this set of heads, so the holes for the push rods haven't been hogged out, so we can go ahead and get these rocker arms in there, and when we get them set up, they'll sit up nice and straight and flat, and they'll roll on the valves good. Because before you get this all together like this, they look all floppy and like that, and they don't really line up quite right. But as you start putting parts together, they line up better. And that's something that you want to be aware of too. If they're not lining up, or they're not coming in where they're riding on your valve quite right, stop and figure out why. Because you may have a mismatched set of parts that don't like to get along with each other, and that does happen. Sometimes your machinists, if you send them into the machine shop, they'll hog these out and they'll set them up for roller rocker arms and whatnot, and screw in studs, but they'll also set them up for guide plates. So if you have a set of heads that needs guide plates in them, by all means run them, because the wear on your rocker arms are going to be quite excessive if you're not running the guide plates. That's what they're there for. Like this one here, you can see it's still really loose, so I have to. This one here is right about where it needs to be. This one here, I'm going to have to put a wrench on, it looks like. I'm not going to bore you by doing that right now, but that one's going to have a little wrench on it. It's getting a little too tight to turn by fingers. There we go. You can feel the friction on it when you start to turn them. You know, because right now it turns super easy, and then as you start to run this down and that ball starts to tighten up down there a little bit, you can feel it, the friction on it, and that's where I'm stopping. You can still turn them, but that's where I'm going to start with. And then basically what we'll do is we'll turn them until we'll roll the motor over so we're not on lobe of the cam, and we'll start tightening them down and continue to roll them over until we get them all zero lashed. And what that means is get it right where that friction is, where it kind of stops turning, right in that area. And then eventually what we'll do is probably give it about a quarter turn, and that's kind of that gray area. Some guys do a quarter turn, some guys do a half a turn, some guys do a 3/4 turn. Mind you, these are hydraulic lifters, they're not solid lifters. If they were solid lifters, we'd just take it down to zero lash and just pretty much leave it. But these are hydraulics, so I go about a quarter turn past zero lash. So, but there you have it. We're going to go ahead and zero lash everything, but I'm not going to bore you with that. That's a boring, tedious job. So we'll do that off camera. On the next video, we'll probably have this all lashed up, and we'll show you putting the intake on and maybe some of the other accessories on the front of the motor and our valve covers and stuff like that. We should be about that point at that time. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to smash that like button and ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We're hoping to have more good content coming for you, and we're just going to keep going on, and we'll get this thing together. Talk to you later.